Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. We are glad you're with us. What is it like to become a pilot in your 40s and 50s? The challenges are unique for those of us in midlife, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences of being a midlife pilot. Join the Midlife Pilot community and listen in every week. We are not CFIs or particularly intelligent, so if you want to learn how to fly, talk to anyone else other than the hosts of a podcast. Even this intro was too challenging for us, and we used a robot to do it. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
And hello, everyone. Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, a podcast where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Whether you're a seasoned pilot, training for a rating, or just thinking about getting started in aviation, we like to think of the podcast as your aviation companion and your weekly dose of aviation inspiration. Tonight, we have another information whiskey. Hadn't done one of these in a little bit, so we thought we'd just kind of hit some feedback and talk about what we've been up to and do a little hangar flying. If you're wondering, my name is Ben. I'm an IFR-rated pilot with a commercial certificate based in the metro Atlanta area, flying a Cessna 182 I like to call the Beast. Joining me as always, it's my friend in Nashville, which is home of the Bachelorette Super Charlie. He's right there in the heart of Music Row. He flies a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. It's our friend Brian. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you and all. Glad to be here for another information whiskey session where it's usually fun, but maybe a little unwieldy.
Well, that's who we are as midlifers, unwieldy. Also joining us tonight, sport pilot extraordinaire based in Portlandia. He flies a flight design CTLS. We like to call it Ed. It's mine and Brian's and everybody's friend. It's Ted. Hello, sir.
Hey, so glad to be here.
Yeah. Glad to have you here. So, fellas.
Ted, that sounded like it was the first time you'd ever been on the podcast.
I'm so glad you haven't kicked me off yet.
Wait a minute. You know what? We're getting close to our 100th episode for us.
For
Ted and I.
Like, yeah, you're right. We are. Yeah.
And I'm actually starting to get a little comfortable with this thing, but I'm not there yet.
Isn't it amazing, though, how just some reps, just like learning how to land or anything else, just getting some reps, you start to settle into it.
That's right.
You guys have done an amazing job. I would like to shout you both out for, because you got in, what, episode 40?
40. Yeah.
And we're at, what, 136? Yeah. Wow. I mean, you guys had done zero podcasting.
And it showed.
And it showed. I'm still suffer a little PTSD from episode 40 itself with the big transition, but that's okay.
Yeah. The big
Everybody
reveal
else enjoyed it, and that's all that mattered.
Yeah, the reveal was fantastic. And like our friends over at OB, listen to our podcast in reverse. It's not a story, and it just gets worse.
Except for they're not that way. Theirs just gets better. I don't want to imply that their podcast gets worse.
Well, the problem with OB is they have so many inside jokes that you really have to decode everything. So if you want to listen to it backwards, it slowly gets revealed what you've actually been hearing already anyway.
That's good. That's a good point.
In this podcast, we're a little different. We are the joke.
Yes, that's exactly right. I thought I'd start the flying recap. I had a bit of an adventure this past week. This is like the most midlife thing I've done in a really long time. So Terry and I decided to go see my sister down in St. Simons, and my brother-in-law down there, he volunteers for a golf tournament, and for doing so, he gets a tee time at a pretty exclusive club down there. So he told me to bring my golf clubs. He was inviting me to play. And so we're get up Thursday morning, we're going to load the plane, and what do? I strain my lower back putting golf clubs at the back of the airplane.
Yeah, that's
either the most midlife and the most bougie thing that I could think of that's come out of my mouth. Loading my golf clubs in my plane. And
did you ever just lay flat on the asphalt?
This wasn't a particularly bad one, but it was bad enough to where I wasn't able to play golf, which is fine. We sat on the beach all day one day, and we sat around the pool all day the next, and it was awesome. Didn't do a thing.
Now,
I will tell you, go ahead.
I was going to say, what's your relationship with golf?
15 years ago, I would play 30 or 40 rounds a year. I was pretty active.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then now I play maybe 5 rounds a year.
Ted, do you play golf at all?
No, not at all.
Yeah. I see you're still undecided, Ted. Tell us how you really feel about golf.
No, I like to go in and caddying for my dad. I didn't really care to play. So I've been around courses quite a bit, but it's not for me.
It's whatever. There's something. My older brother is a huge golfer. He loves it. In the same way that I love aviation. He loves golf. You know, I don't have that gene. Never had that gene. Grew up playing putt and some par 3, good enough for me. And I always just think of the George Carlin bit where he's like, I don't get it. You hit the ball as hard as you can, and then you go and you find it, and then as soon as you find that, you just hit it again.
Yes.
So I don't know. I think a lot of people in our community are golfers, and so kudos to you. Maybe they've got some tips on how to get your clubs in the plane without hurting yourself.
Maybe so. Again, we'll work through that. But I will tell you something interesting about the flight. We filed IFR going down there. And so for those of you that don't know, St. Simons is an untowered airport, and it is controlled by Jacksonville Tracon, Jack's Approach. And when I got to the terminal environment area, I was number 5 of 7 planes heading to the airport on an instrument approach. And these were jets, turboprops, and piston singles and a piston twin. I mean, it was just every variety.
Yeah.
And I watched on my iPad, this whole ballet unfold. And I just want to give a shout out to whoever that Jack's controller was working July 3rd, roughly around 10 o'clock in the morning, East Coast time. It was a thing of beauty watching all of this unfold. And all the players, all the planes that were in this conga line played their parts perfectly. Nobody, it was just a thing of beauty to watch. And I was totally geeking out on this controller providing this concert for us. And it worked out perfectly. Now, the ceilings were like 900. So everybody was catching side of the runway and canceling in the air, because if they canceled on the ground, that was going to take too long, and that was going to screw everybody up. But it was really a beauty to behold.
It's fun sometimes when you're in the air and you've got, even if it's not the airport you're at, but you hear the situations going on. You're like, this is cool. Like everything's working together. Like,
well,
the stages where they're just great. Yeah.
The controllers would tell everybody, okay, you're number 5 in line. You're number 6 of 8, or, so everybody knew the stage is set. You've got to play your part, because this isn't going to work if everybody doesn't play right. So it was very, very well done. It was really cool.
Is it similar to that feeling you get when you're driving on a road trip and you get into a grouping of cars that are committed to the correct speed and approach to handling whatever traffic you're passing, and everybody's on the same team? You do the exit farewell, like, hey, I don't know you, but that was beautiful.
Yeah.
I would say it was similar to that. Yeah. I wouldn't classify it exactly that way, because I actually got a speed restriction. He's like, I need you to give me as slow as you can. And so I pulled it back to about 90 knots. And, I keyed back up about 5 minutes later, 7 minutes. I said, is this speed okay? And he goes, you are perfect. And then he just went right on to the next one. I mean, it just, I don't know.
You said, I know, but how's my speed?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I said, actually, I wanted you to say, well, I'm glad my wife's in the plane or something.
Yeah.
I was reading the room, Brian. I was taking your cue. So,
well, listen, how about that? Getting a speed restriction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That does boost the ego a little bit.
You got one that's going over Atlanta, right?
I've gotten that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Well,
so I'm slowing from 110 knots to 90 knots. It's really not that big of a deal, but
Yeah.
it's still nice. It helps the ego a little bit. How about you guys? Anybody been doing flying?
I can't. Sometimes I can't remember what I've said. Do you guys have that problem?
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we do this podcast enough to where, look, if we've already talked about something, just cut us some slack. I believe I did not mention this, but recently I did some pretty extensive night flying that I had not done maybe to that extent in a while, if ever. And went up to Evansville, Indiana, which is a great kind of calm Charlie, at least comparatively to Nashville.
Yeah.
And it's the one where every time I've gone there, I'm basically getting cleared to land, 30 miles out, and then it doesn't,
I love those.
It doesn't please me. It makes me nervous that I have actually routed myself to a different airport or something must be incredibly wrong here, so it makes me, it induces a small panic streak for a second when you get cleared that far out. But nighttime, it was just so, it was so nice. One of the interesting things that was happening was all of my night flying, I think that I've done up to this point, I was very sure that there were absolutely no clouds anywhere. Mm-hmm. And so as a VFR pilot, I really don't want to enter into surprise clouds. And as the sun was fading, there was still bits of a layer at around-ish the altitude that I wanted to fly. And it was one of those where, when you're looking off at the horizon and you're kind of just wondering, am I going to run into those? Am I going to go above those or am I going to go below those? It's going to be close. I don't know. And to be doing that from 20 miles out, seeing what's happening, what's coming, but then the light's gone, by the time you're there, it was just a neat little, it was fine. There was no issue, but I just realized that I hadn't really done any night flying where I had really any thinking to do about clouds. So that was cool. And then, but even cooler was, landing and going to the FBO. They have free ice cream bars. So, that makes spending hundreds of dollars on fuel totally worth it. And, they're Haagen-Dazs. It's very high level. So, ice cream bars, but there were a couple other pilots. They might be on the stream here. They might be listening. But there were a couple other pilots that I just got to chit-chatting with. And after talking for a little while, they said, wait, are you Brian? I got voice recognized, which was really,
wow.
That was kind of strange, right? It was, I don't know, recognizing a radio DJ
voice,
type person or something,
Yeah.
Anyway, voice recognized. So shout out to Captain Coconut, who's in our Discord.
Oh, nice.
Who I ran to him and his buddy, and they probably thought that that I was just some lunatic, and then they became sure that I was just
exactly
confirmed
some lunatic. But anyway, that was cool, and so it was just a fun flying experience and great night of flying. And as much
I
as
have a question.
Yeah,
have you flown at night and then be above a set of clouds?
No.
Okay, that's very disconcerting.
I would imagine.
Before I got my instrument, I was on a night flight coming back from Columbus, and it was just, one strip of clouds. Wasn't that big of a deal, and we're over the top. But when you're looking at the lights below and all of a sudden the lights below go out, that's very disconcerting. Yeah. So just caution those out there that, the clouds, there are clouds at night, believe it or not.
Yes.
So
yeah. And don't fly over 5,000 feet.
Well, if you want.
Unless you need to. Yeah.
Well, you can't see what your options are when you're landing. So what do you really need more time for, I guess?
Yeah, it's just that whole oxygen thing.
Yes.
I find it interesting. Your eyes operate like a camera. You know what I mean? It's like an aperture thing where you're having to open up so much to let in light that it's taxing your image processing essentially to the point that you require more oxygen. We're not instructors or medical people or anything else, but we have learned a couple of things from private pilot training, and that was one of them.
Yep.
Yes.
Poorly explained. Go read a book. Anyway, Ted.
Yeah. Two things I did this week. One is kind of trying to wrap up some loose ends with the plane before flying out to Oshkosh. And so I'm not drinking information whiskey tonight, but I do have a bourbon sitting on my desk because my mechanic has been so nice helping me out and not charging and everything else. Like, okay, I gotta bring you a whiskey. It's like, no, we only do bourbon here. I'm like, great. So I've got to head back over there and
tell us about your flight plan, Ted.
Yeah. With the whiskey? With the bourbon?
Whiskey.
Yeah.
I mean, the FAA's listening, but if you want to tell us about your flight, yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Is this how you make those long legs happen? Those 10-hour flights?
Yeah. Hey, yeah. It's totally distracted by that now. No, we'll talk more about Oshkosh.
Okay.
I'm not sure. There's a lot of routes. Probably after the fact, would be a better time to talk about it. But we'll see.
All of them are eastbound.
Yeah.
Okay.
It turns out that's the shortest way to get to Oshkosh from here. So, but yeah. So whenever did that, and then my partner and I flew up to Seattle for the weekend, and went up Friday, came back Sunday. It's her first time back in the plane after having some major orthopedic work done. So it was great that she's doing well enough to be in the plane. And so we flew up there. We're talking tonight, and it's like there was really no flying of note because it wasn't about the flying. It was we just wanted to go to Seattle, and it's an hour 20 to get up there and leave the plane for a couple of days and come back to it. So
you sent me a picture of both y'all on the plane. And
Yeah.
can I tell you, she looked genuinely excited and happy. Like there didn't seem to be any sense of nerves about what you were doing. It seemed like there was total relaxation. Like this is now a thing that you guys have on your list of things you can do now.
It didn't look like you photoshopped the gun to her head.
That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
It's a long way from scrambling for a handhold when I was making a pattern turn, and when I pulled back power to go down to start a descent from 1,000 feet. Scrambling again for everything. From that to being comfortable with some turbulence and not being surprised by the bumps. So. We did fly into Seattle, and it's really busy going in there. That's BFI, Boeing Field. And it's a really busy spot to be. Kind of famously, the approaches to it conflict with the Bravo airport and with the other Charlie that are there. And it's been a topic on OB for good reasons because of that. But we were getting in, and I thought, it's not terribly busy here. I mean, they told me to descend to get out of the way of the arrivals, but besides that, it's not super busy. And they just changed runway direction. I said, hey, instead of coming in, can I just go tour the bay and drop back over to the lake and come in that way? Like, yeah, just let us know when you're inbound. I was like, wow, like that much like flexibility to do that. And so we had a great little tour past the Space Needle and the stadiums that are, in TFR territory because there's always events going on, it seems. And, going over the hills and staying relatively low because you're restricted with the traffic overhead. So Seattle's such a pretty town, and to fly over it is just a lot of fun. So,
I'm so jealous every time I see, because I lived there once upon a time back in the time called the 90s, and so I'm familiar, and I just can't imagine how wonderful it would be to fly around all there. So what a treat.
Yeah, it's been a delight. So that was a nice little flight. And on the way out, I really wanted to drop past an airport to get a passport stamp, and it's a grass runway and 7 miles away. And so we did that. And so she went from a very high end Delta to a little grass strip, and so that was a lot of fun having her as a passenger and landing on, a nice rough grass strip. So
it feels like really your aviation journey is kind of just starting all over again. been able to take her on to all these different things. So that's really cool.
Yeah. Life's good, so so did that. And, just getting ready for Oshkosh will be the, kind of the next real focus. So, want to get rolling on?
Yeah, let's get to the housekeeping, eh?
Hey,
I don't know why I said that like a Canadian, but shout out to our Canadian friends here. Let's just knock this out real quick. Hey, everybody, how you doing? We're grateful for you all making this the best pilot community that we know of, a positive space where we share everything from training experiences, shared personal minimums, tackle ownership challenges, review flight plans, and best of all, make new aviation friends. By the way, that part about shared personal minimums is one of the coolest things about the Discord, is that we have a centralized place where everybody can post their minimums and continually update them. And that's a nice accountability piece. So really a cool thing. But you can connect with us, join our Patreon community from $1 a month, or do one-time annual Patreon. 25 cents per episode to start. Access exclusive content, including checkride debriefs. There are more coming all the time. Thank you, One Geek, for constantly publishing in our Patreon. Really fantastic deep dive checkride debriefs of all kinds. And I think we have some international things coming, which is going to be very cool. Killing Zone conversations and more. So get on in the Discord. 10% supports Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. Watch us live on YouTube Mondays, 8 p.m. Eastern. Share your stories, midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com. We read every message, and you might hear yours on the show. We're going to be getting into some of those this evening. And for everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, community feedback, merch, we have a bunch of new shirts. Please go check them out. And some other things and more. Visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And,
can I ask you a quick question?
Yeah, buddy.
How do you think I'd look in that boonie hat? I don't think I'd pull the boonie hat off very well. I don't know. Maybe.
I think if you're wearing a Columbia boonie hat, you have already resigned so much vanity in your life that you are purely living in a functionality over anything else.
Gotcha. Okay.
There's no look to be had there, Ben. It's just about. So what I'm talking about.
You're really talking these up really
right.
Well.
I know. Yeah. It's like, if you've given up, we've got the hat for you.
We're the podcast for you. Yes.
We have, but they're Columbia brand, really nicely made with the Midlife Pilot Podcast embroidered logo. They do have the drawstring and all that, but they're the brimmed hats that have the UV protection and the mesh vents and all of that. So kind of a perfect I'm going to be out in the sun at Oshkosh hat. So highly recommend, especially if you've given up. Resignation is only a hazardous attitude for flying, but it's perfectly fine for fashion.
Yes,
that's right.
For fashion.
So that is the housekeeping. There's actually a couple of other surprise things in our new merch upload here. So I really hope that people go and check it out. There's some really cool stuff in there. But community updates, Ted.
Yeah. So I've got some new supporters this week. I want to say thanks to them. At Landomatic, we have Keith P, aka Pappy Van Pilot. At the Hershey Bar level, we have Zach, and we have Douglas F, and Douglas upgraded. So thanks all of you for joining us. Yeah.
Thank you.
Inside Discord, really, this is just talk about accomplishments. Toby Kai was talking about their first flight after getting their private pilot and all that feeling of, did I steal a plane? Am I doing something wrong? Am I allowed to do this? What am I missing? Obviously, this can't be possible. All those feelings. So it's great because we've all been there, and that's the value of the podcast and of the Discord to me, is realizing that I'm not alone in those thoughts.
Yeah.
And got to congratulate Wendy for passing her IFR after a little bit of a hiccup first time around, which is totally fine, totally normal. And
so happy and proud.
Yeah. Same. And she went up to the islands, the San Juans this weekend, and filed IFR on her way in and took friends out to Orcas. So life's good. Yeah. Plain Places is our friend Virgil is Night Current. He said after 20 years, 20 years of not having night currency. That's a long time. So
I start breathing heavy when I get like 5 days out of my currency.
Hotel Charlie Papa, aka Dom, hit 100 hours.
All right.
Awesome.
I think he was going up around Mount St. Helens and shared a picture of that in
that was
RV12.
cool.
So yeah, it's always good. And Checkmate Barry is in San Francisco right now. I saw him when I was over at the mechanic, and it's his biggest flight going to San Francisco. And he did the tour, and he did not see the Golden Gate because Carl the Fog was there. So those are very normal San Francisco things.
Big trip.
Yeah.
When I was reading your notes, I thought you were congratulating Barry on 10 hours of flying.
Yeah. Well, there are 10 hours of flying, just not his first 10 hours. Yeah.
I do want to call out a comment from our good friend, Lord Alpha Juliet. He said, don't forget, we do actually have a special Oshkosh note of discussion with an actual Oshkosh controller, Bravo Kilo. He's been on opposing bases. I've had the opportunity to meet him a couple of times. Super nice guy, but that is happening for our Patreon members on July no, not the 7th. It's coming up soon, Wednesday. I think it's this Wednesday, the 9th.
Yeah.
Today's the 7th.
Today is the 7th. So
Yes.
it started 30 minutes ago and we're not on it. But,
And there's a lot better places to go for information. I've been sitting through a bunch of those sessions. You can get Wings credit for them, and you can hear a lot of things and a lot of advice. This is more talking in our group about who's going and figuring out how we're going to meet up, and maybe getting a couple of tips and that kind of thing. So it's much more be a lot easier to figure out what we're doing now than it will be once we get on the ground. So, but yes, it is very great. The guests that we'll have joining us, those can be fun.
Great time. So I thought tonight maybe we'd hit some listener feedback. What do you guys think?
I'm into it. We got a lot to hammer through. Let's just, get into it. By the way, Lord Alpha Juliet just clarified. Yeah, July 9th, 9 p.m. We try to keep our content evergreen. So if this is July 9th of 2028 and you're hearing this, disregard.
Roll into Discord or whatever replaced it, and we'll be there.
Or we'll get BK to join us in 2028 on July 9th as well. Whatever we can do.
Yes.
He doesn't know it, but he's under contract now for the next 10 years.
All right, listener feedback. We got a quick little bit here from just Pappy Van Pilot, which I thought was hilarious. He pointed out that we had a missed opportunity on a show title, Hungry, Hungry Hippos and High Humidity. That's a lot of alliteration, which I'm a fan of. And you guys were making fun of me for bringing up hungry hippos when we were talking about density altitude. But at least somebody was trying to advance the concept here in hopes of saving it. So, hey, thanks for that, Pappy Van Pilot.
That one that hungry hippo. I've been thinking about that, trying to poke holes in it, but it really is a pretty good example. So I give kudos to you for that.
It grows on you.
It does kind of grow on you. Our next bit of feedback is from John H. He writes, hi, Ben, Brian, and Ted. Thank you very much for the bespoke video. When you do sign up with us on Patreon at certain levels, we do send you a quick little thanks. He said, I greatly appreciate the effort and time. The video made me feel even more welcome to the great community you foster. Unfortunately, and he, for a little bit of context, he lists himself in Discord as John Plain, one word. And so we thought his name might be that he just had to be a pilot because his last name's Plain. But anyway,
we're big into nominative determinism here, right, Brian? So with a name like John Plain, he had to get into aviation.
Right? Yeah.
So he goes on to say, unfortunately, my last name isn't Plain, but I like to use the John Plain on my aviation type profiles, including IACRA. Laugh out loud. My very first word was Plain, so I feel I have some claim to use it in my name. Anyway, love the community you have built with the culture around respect and inclusion. Keep up the great work. Kindest regards, John Plain.
John Plain H.
Yeah. Yeah. I love hearing that. When we switched to Discord, it's after Ben and I joined, but when we switched to that to kind of form our community around, one of the things that we did, and stole this from SoCal Flying Monkey, but was the idea of us as hosts sending out a video thanks to anybody who signs up for the Patreon. And that's something we do. And it's, it's important, I think, that we acknowledge that you've supported us, that you're spending money, you're spending time, you're doing all that, and that actually means something. And so I don't know, I feel like from this side of it, that's something that's important to do. And
it's also a way of just saying, hey, it's not really about us.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's really about everybody chipping in and helping is just really building an awesome community, which it really is. Those videos, when we make them, we do them in a batch, and it starts off, it starts off kind of under control. And we basically do a round robin and say thank you to you, the patron, new patron, or upgrading or whatever it is. And by the fourth or fifth one, we are off the rails. So if you get one that seems kind of not formal, but a little normal, you know that you were early. And then if you get one that is just careening off the rails,
think of it this way.
You were the last in line.
The first one we're sober, and like we do a shot after each one. So about the last one, you can. No, we don't do that, but that's what it probably seems like.
I always think of it. There's images of spiders that have been given LSD, and they're making their webs, and the webs are getting just progressively more chaotic. That's always what I think of. It's just a little. It's a little weird.
That's very Portland of you.
Yeah, that's very. This is why. Forget the community. Please pity us.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let me read the next one here. This is another reply to one of the videos. This is from Jerry P., who says that, Ben, Brian, and Ted, I appreciate all you do for us older pilots. I've attached a few images of my RV and look forward to future podcasts. Thanks for personal thank you. I wasn't expecting that. If you want to visit the New York City area, I'd be more than happy to assist. And totally appreciate that. We love it when we get to know people in all these areas. I usually, when we have somebody new join on Discord, I'll usually try to tag someone that's been in the community for a while and say that, they're in charge of the regional desk for that part of the community. Because we've got people that are kind of spread all over, including in Indiana, as Brian found.
Well, I need to get up to New York. The Hudson, corridor is high on my list of things. I mean, especially having lived in New York twice. It's kind of like you flying around Seattle, these places that I've lived before, and these other iterations of my life. There's something so transcendent and cool about a place that you know intimately from the ground. You've done all the streets and all the public transportation and ridden your bike and lived entire lives in these places, but then to just fly around it, where you really understand what you're seeing in a unique experiential way. It's just cool.
Before you do this one, can I open up a can of worms?
Oh yeah.
We briefly mentioned a fall fly-in. I'm thinking mid-state, upstate New York.
I was thinking ice cream, but
Okay.
Yeah.
Or Northeast. I was thinking Northeast in general. So
yeah.
All right, let's go. Let's keep going with the feedback.
No, let's talk about this for a minute.
let's bury this thing. Yeah.
So, we have our own private thread in which we converse about various things, and I put some things out there and nobody said anything. And then now you're bringing it up right in the middle of the show. So let's talk about this.
Let's air our dirty laundry here.
Right. Yeah. It's kind of,
here's the problem. I was in a position where I couldn't reply to that. And then, a day later, it's buried way, it takes you forever to find it. So I wasn't ignoring it. I just didn't have a chance to respond to it. And you bringing up New York about this and upstate, I just thought it was the time. So
yeah. Katie and I always refer to the Office scene where Andy is upset with Dwight and he says, "I'm sorry that that I bothered you with my friendship." Right. I'm sorry that I annoyed you with my friendship. So I'm sorry, Ben, that I annoyed you with my
You
friendship.
didn't annoy me. I just telling you like it is. So, well, we could talk about this later.
All right.
All right.
I got to make the font bigger. Hold on. This thing
Yeah,
it's kind of small.
Yeah.
All right. All right. I can't even figure that out right now, which is fine.
Here.
Oh, wait, there goes somebody. Okay. I see somebody else editing. Oh, look at this. Okay.
There's the computer nerd to do it for you. Yeah.
Well, I have the window so condensed that it doesn't provide me all of the normal options. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And by the way, whatever color you used to highlight this is one of the most hideous colors of any. Oh, that's even worse.
It's like a dark
That's even
salmon.
worse.
He's just there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Somehow you're designing the utility closet from my elementary school in 1976. All right. All right. All right. So we got things to read. By the way, thanks for the live chat for you guys sticking this out and information whiskeying with us.
And
All right.
thanks, Chuck and Scott, who bought the 2 bounces and a Skip T-shirt. Scott said he's gonna wear it and hope that his CFI finds humor in it. And Chuck said he's gonna wear it for landing at Oshkosh. So
Yes. So yeah, we have these new shirts: two bounce landings and a skip, 3 landings logged.
yes,
Don't hate the player, hate the game, or don't hate the game, hate the player. Which one is it? I don't know. Ben, you're the one that knows. I don't know. So all right. Chris J writes, your latest episode on being prepared away from home was very timely for me. A few weeks ago, I decided to completely revamp my toolkit and my RV9A. On the very next flight, I had to make a precautionary landing 20 miles from home due to what turned out to be a bad ignition harness. Sound familiar? Yes, it does, Chris. Thank you. I am
he's got an
fortunate.
RV, so it was it was built in his lifetime.
That's
So,
right.
yeah.
Yeah. It's not an Elvis themed ignition harness.
Yes.
I am fortunate in that as the builder of my plane, I'm comfortable doing just about anything short of a cylinder removal. But due to having the tools with me, I was able to land, decowl, try a new spark plug, and quickly isolate the problem to the harness. I ordered a new one and was able to come back and swap it out on the ramp a week later, all with the tools carried in my plane. While most pilots probably won't be doing their own repairs like this, there are some important things I learned when researching my toolkit. And this is awesome. I love when people can give us deeper insights to what we have already talked about and keeping this conversation going. This is really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Try doing some basic maintenance tasks at home with just the tools you plan to carry. I love this. You will quickly find out what other special tools that you want. For example, my cowl is difficult to remove with a little right angle ratcheting screwdriver, so I keep one with me. I also keep single-use items like the large cotter pins that secure the main wheel axle nuts, etc. My main wheel fairings are a huge pain to remove without a ratcheting style box wrench, so I keep one in the proper size with me as well.
I have a tip on that.
Yeah.
If you're having trouble removing your main wheel fairings, okay. There's the percussion method.
The concussion method.
Yes.
All right. Know what parts are hard to find locally. This is really good too. The nose wheel RV models have a commonly used and stocked main wheel tube, but the nose wheel tube is not a standard aircraft tube, so I keep one with me. I also keep a spark plug and socket along with gaskets. I know this weight adds up, but being able to swap a spark plug by yourself can be the difference between a hotel stay and a 1-hour delay. I also keep a link belt style spare alternator belt that can also be installed without removing the prop.
Yeah.
Very cool. And a lot of these things are not necessarily, we're not going to say what you can and can't do, but a lot of these things are not beyond the pale here for just about anybody.
Yeah.
Know what items you are likely to need to replace eventually. I just recently had my boost pump switch break off at the toggle. Now I keep an extra switch with me as well as some extra wire, butt splices, etc. I also keep an extra fuel drain and O-rings. Keep items for securing your plane safely outside. Yes. Some airports won't have great tie-down options, so some have rope, control surface locks, etc. Have those things with you. I also plan to buy some of the claw-type anchors if I need to use my own anchors. I also have a lightweight travel canopy cover I keep in the plane in case it needs to stay tied down somewhere. So yeah, those are great. By the way, Ben, you use your canopy religiously all the time. And I guess Ted, you do too, right?
I use it a lot of the time. I didn't use it in Seattle because it was Seattle. It's not going to get that hot, but I try to put it on when it's going to be away from home.
Because I swear ours it feels like every time I use it, there's a new scratch on the windscreen, no matter what happens, no matter how gentle you are, no matter how clean it is. Yeah. And I've heard various things. You guys tell us, what is your thought? Because I've heard everything from definitely use one of those. It's great. It protects your plane from all these things. I've heard the other thing where it's like, for the love of God, don't put those things on your airplane. They are terrible for the paint and for the windscreens and for the whatever. I
think it depends on the cover itself. Ours has a padding, like a liner for the windscreens. Ours
does too. And it's still, I feel like, anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. But yeah, for me, it's keeping the heat out. It's an impedance to water. It's not going to stop the water if it's a major downpour, but it does help a little bit. Over the years, that waterproofing tends to wear away. But
all right,
I mean, we have it. It's great, but I don't use it every single time.
So another one, some Ziploc bags for screws, he says, as well as a pad or something to kneel on when working, and shop towels, of course. That's really smart.
Yeah.
Anyways, I know my toolkit will be bigger than most, but there is a lot that most pilots can do if they think ahead a bit and have the right things with them, plus a credit card and a wad of cash, of course. Love the podcast, Chris. Thank you so much for that. Those are, if anything, it's without even necessarily being mired in the details of all of that, those kind of lists of things that he's outlining there. It just means take a minute and think about logically a little bit deeper what things typically can fail, what is going to make the difference between you getting out of somewhere that has no services or not. And if it just means adding a few of those things, they might be exactly the right things. I don't think that everybody needs to go, freak out and put a whole hanger in the back of their plane. But this is, I mean, everything he mentions here is spot on. And we've mentioned all these other things, right? These zip ties and, there's just things that are going to be, I always make sure there's a vice grip, because I just feel like a vice grip always wins.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's great. Thank you so much for that, Chris.
That's awesome.
I think that a list like that are things that it helps to get advice from others and know what other people are carrying, but it's also, this is a list that you build up on your own because it's based on your plane and your skills and kind of your comfort level and expectation of things going wrong. I don't expect to have electrical problems. I'm really good at it, and I have a very small fluke multimeter in there, and I have some automotive wiring to get me out of a situation in a pinch. I'm not going to be rewiring the plane for several reasons, but if I needed to do something, I've got some connectors. And so, things like that. It's like, know where your limits are. And my stupid wheels, I know I keep an extra tool because of those. And so it's all based on what happens wrong and what you're comfortable of handling.
This is very ironic that you said, know your limits. Today, when we landed, coming back from St. Simon's, in my seats, I have the little handle that allows you to move the seat back and forth. Mm-hmm. And it's got a spring attached to it that raises and lowers the peg that holds it in place. Well, the spring broke. So I go to the local shop. They didn't have any. So I said, I've got a flight tomorrow. So I took the one off the passenger side to move it over to mine. It took me an hour just to install a spring. So I do keep tools in the plane, but I certainly know my limits. And it's anything more than installing a spring, there's a pretty good chance that I won't do it.
It's like you might be the tool in the plane.
I think, maybe.
Also, it's aviation, so an hour is pretty much the minimum of doing anything,
That's
sort
true.
of work. And
I was doing it with a hurt back too, but I did get it installed, and I was bent in funny shapes, you got to kind of get under the seat. So,
oh yeah, with your back, that helps. Yeah.
So, we got one more piece of feedback that we wanted to get to. This comes to us from Johnny L. And he writes, gentlemen, and I can only assume he's including Brian, but
yeah,
it's clearly AI.
Yeah.
Thank you for making a podcast aimed at midlifers. I guess he is talking to you. Getting back into aviation like myself. Well, getting back into flying at least. I am a retired F-16 crew chief, which is pretty freaking awesome. So I have always loved airplanes. Many moons ago, when I was a young airman at a little training base called Luke Air Force Base in Arizona, I decided to get my private pilot's license. All I really knew was that I thought I would enjoy flying, and I had no real goal after that. So I phoned a local school and got a demo flight and started flying with them. Took me a year and more than 40 hours, but I got my license. I flew a few times after I got my PPL, but eventually stopped because I got orders to go to Korea. Luckily, Osan Air Base had a aero club with 172s that I could rent after some area familiarization. I imagine in Korea, there's some areas that you really do want to stay away from. Don't want to go too far north from Osan, he says. Anyhow, I got checked out and signed off, but got busy with work and didn't fly for the remainder of that tour. Fast forward 20 years later, when I have a family and I'm retired from the United States Air Force, my wife got orders to Finland, and I decided to start flying again for some reason, mainly because I am a spouse dependent and I have no job here. I don't have enough PIC hours to convert my FAA to EASA, the European version. So I decided to get another PPL from a local school. Very cool. So he's got 2 separate PPLs. This is almost like a fresh start since I haven't been behind a yoke in so long. The EU does things a little differently in the US, but flying is almost the same. There's more focus on academics than flying. I remember that flying in and around Phoenix International and Glendale, where I trained at, because it was very busy. But Finland has a lot of Class G with minimal traffic. I can do more sightseeing here, which is neat because it's a beautiful country. The airport I train at has a glider school at it, as well as the most traffic I have had in the area while flying has been 2 gliders and a tow plane. The other day we did a missed approach because there was a glider on short final who had more than enough time and distance to land. But we thought it was good training to just execute that way. There's also a little bit of a language barrier, but everyone here knows English. It's fun getting back out there, and my love for aviation has been revitalized. Okay, he continues. I would like your opinions on the next inquiry. I am 45 now, and I am contemplating doing this for a career. My idea is to teach as a CFI at a local school when I return to the States, barring the training to get there, obviously. I am not ruling out some other commercial pilot type job, but I am not thinking about that because of my age and experience. I would love to pass on my experiences and teach people with similar interests. Or, at the very least, get my own kids into flying and hope they stick with it before aging out. What are your thoughts, Gulp, on midlife career changes? Thanks, Johnny.
Oh, that's such a great tale.
And hey, Nathan Ballard just dropped into the chat. So imagine that. Speaking of midlife career changes.
Midlife career changes.
Before we get into, you've got some things down this path, Ben. Before we get into it too much, I want to clarify and emphasize for people that the idea of aging out of it at the mandatory retirement age of 62 doesn't mean that you're done flying for money. There is a lot of flying after that, like charter, that is an option. And so I know there's at least a few people in this world who have talked about retiring into a flying job. So I just want us, because we're all in that age range, to think, don't think about it being done at 62. So anyway, Ben, please, you know much more about this.
Yeah. So the reason Ted says I know so much more about this is that I really don't know that much more, but I do know a little bit. And the reason for that is last week I had a call there's a gentleman named Carl Valeri. He actually has a podcast called Stuck Mike. It's been around for a long time, but he offers career counseling in aviation. And I spent a little bit longer than an hour with him. I've said this on the podcast before. I'm coming up on retirement age, not retirement age, but at a point where I can retire with my current job. And I want to fly somebody else's airplane and not incur the expenses. And that to me is a professional job. But I wanted to find out, really, I am at this point, where do I need to be to accomplish that goal of merely flying somebody else's airplane and a per diem health insurance, however they want to pay me, I'll probably much take anything. And I found it very informative. There's a couple of surprises in there, and especially as it relates to this feedback. Carl told me that I'm 56, I'll be 57 at the end of the month. He suggested if the opportunity presents itself, go to the airline, even if you only go for a couple of years, because the experience is invaluable. You won't regret it. And actually, the mandatory retirement age is 65, not 62.
Oh, sorry.
It's just a quick clarification. So at 45, and Nathan Ballard can speak to this as well. I mean, you're young as far as the eyes of if you wanted to go the airline route. Not saying that's what you want to do, but I'm so pumped up. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about after this call but there's so much out there. Charter, family, corporations, Part 91. There's just so much you can do. And he strongly, and Nathan Ballard's going to love this, he pushed me really hard to get my CFI. He said that experience is invaluable. It really looks good on a resume. But Johnny, go get your CFI. And absolutely, even if you're just doing it on your own and teaching your kids, but you're teaching to teach, not to build time to go to the airlines. I can assure you the world needs more of those folks. So, but yeah, it was very eye-opening. I know like the exact path I need to take. I need to get my multi, which is probably going to happen very soon. I need 50 hours. I've kind of got a line on a person that has a multi-engine aircraft who likes to share time in it. And I should be able to get to there pretty quickly, maybe even try to build some turbine time. My friend, Lord Alpha Juliet, he knows this stuff already, and he's already working towards that. So, yeah, there's a lot out there. Johnny, I would say you are in a unique position, my friend. Start pursuing it.
Love it.
Yeah.
I'm so happy for your optimism, Ben, and you're people should understand that you are the sage. You are our inspiration. You are the person that's ahead of us, helping us understand how to, be.
I do have a concern though.
Oh,
am I going to get fired if I get a job flying? Because you've always said we never have to fly as midlifers. Well, if I get a job, I'm going to have to, and I'm not sure if I'm going to be allowed on the show anymore.
You still don't have to fly.
Just get fired?
Well, I mean, you can just, this Scotch situation you're in right now, no, but I just think that's awesome. I mean, I like how you mentioned that there's just a lot of paths. So just get out there and investigate it. It doesn't mean you're committing. It doesn't mean you're, I don't know. You can try different things. Right now, my latest infatuation is after that PT-19 experience. They just the Commemorative Air Force Music City Wing just got their T6 going, and so I am interested, and I've been talking with our friend Dev about getting that experience. So, wow, I just think it's just get your hands on whatever. You just keep going.
That's right.
I don't know. Just keep going. Even if you're terrible at golf, keep playing. Right, Ben? Even if you can't even put the clubs in your plane without injuring yourself, just keep trying.
That makes me feel so much better. Thank you, Brad. And what's sad is I got this big lumbar support, and I've been adjusting it all night.
Yeah, you're going to fire yourself. You're going to just be like, I can't do it. The podcast is too physically demanding.
I'm going to claim disability.
I used to say it was like in our 20s, the injuries were epic. They're always like, you had a great story behind them. You hit your 30s and 40s, it starts to be stories like, I'm just not sure. I think I rolled over in bed wrong, and that's why I can't walk today.
Yeah.
Right.
And really, it's your 40s when the doctors start telling you, well, there's actually no fix for this.
Yeah.
You'll be dealing with this for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And when you're 20, you think, well, everything can be repaired. Everything will heal.
Yeah.
And then in your 40s, like, well,
yeah,
this is, enjoy having a limp. Yeah.
Yeah. I find, it's like, oh, I coughed. Oh, what? It's like, I'm pretty sure that I fractured one of my fingers or something, and I can't. I'm just trying to figure out you just have these things where clearly it's because something happened, but I don't even know what it.
Yeah.
I mean, clearly it had to be a hard force upon my finger to create this thing that's been lasting for months that just does not get better.
Yeah.
It feels like, I don't know, like a fractured bone, like a hairline, and it's like, well, I guess that's what it will heal. Right. Or not.
Well,
or not. Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually. So,
yeah.
Well, cool. It's been a fun. We appreciate everybody in the chat. Been very active, and it's great to see everybody in there.
Can I add one thing here real quick?
Please.
I love when you were talking about the spring taking an hour.
Yeah.
And then Barry's in here saying, while installing the new EarthX battery, it took me close to an hour to install one screw on a circuit breaker. There's so many. It had me thinking about all the things in aviation, especially if you're tinkering around with your own plane and all that. How many just excruciating things there are that take an hour. And so I wanted to invite people, if anyone has listened to this podcast, please email us at midlifepilotpodcast@gmail.com and give us some examples of your excruciating 1 hour tasks, because this is hilarious.
Let me tell you, so I love and respect all three of my boys, but Noah last year was changing the suspension on his 2001 Honda Prelude, and I'm not exaggerating. He and his buddy, and by the way, his buddy's like 6'2" tree of a guy. They spent a day and a half removing one bolt, and I respect. I would have given up. I would have just said, "Screw this suspension. I'm going to go throw the car away and get something else," because I do not have the patience for that.
It's like, so I guess they were doing PB Blaster and then a torch, then PB Blast, or I don't know, whatever they were doing.
Yeah. I don't know what it was, but instead of wit and wisdom tonight, I just wanted to, we had our big Texas send, and which was just north of where all the tragic flooding and loss of life. And we just wanted to let all of our listeners in Texas know that we are absolutely thinking about you guys. It's such an amazing community out there. And that one hit kind of close home to us. So know that we're thinking about you guys, and you're able to get back onto your feet as soon as possible. So
yeah, our
sorry to send on
our hearts are really out for that. I mean, Kerrville is literally the next airport over from Fredericksburg, where we were, and this stuff's important no matter what. But it's easier, I don't know, for our like dumb little brains to understand things when we can point to being there and understand it more. And that's how I am with that. And so Operation Airdrop, who did a lot of amazing work in North Carolina, is doing a lot of work down in Texas as well. And so, if you're wanting something aviation to do, you go to them. You can go to anyone else, and please help out. This is the most fatalities in a flood in over 100 years in the U.S.
Ted, maybe you could put Operation Airdrop's link in the description below. But just know our hearts are with you and thinking of all you guys. So
absolutely.
We're going to go ahead and end it with that. Signing off, episode 136 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Good night, everybody.